This is such a dramatic intro. I love it. So, hello everyone. I'm Alina, and I fear I girl bossed a little too close to the sun because now I'm on the stage and having a bit of a panic attack here. But yeah, I used to be a fashion photographer actually, and I used to come to Cannes for a very different reason. So this is very new, and last night I found myself accidentally making a talk about redefining privacy culture. So this is where we're going to start, and welcome to my RIPrivacy talk. Can I have a bit of applause, please? It helps with anxiety, I swear. So a little bit about myself. I'm a hackathon rat. I organized so many hackathons at this point, it's hard to count, and I'm building hacker archives. And I'm also part of RIPrivacy Now collective, as well as leading Women in Privacy task force. And RIPrivacy Now, Women in Privacy, it's a mouthful, I know. So Women in Privacy, we usually shorten it to WIN Privacy, which I think is a much better name for it, because we focus mainly on ecosystem diversity rather than gender diversity. And yeah, so that was enough about me. What about you? So this is where I entertain you a bit. So who here thinks that privacy is boring? Lift up your hand. Well, I got one. This is a pretty good public. Okay. Who here thinks that privacy is cool? Nice. Okay, this is a great crowd, but then my talk is not going to be very relevant to you, but, you know, who here identifies as a cypherpunk? Okay, a couple. I have some questions for later. People who think that privacy is cool, why do you not identify as a cypherpunk? But we can bench that for later. And also, by the way, I don't think you should give out your data that freely. So privacy, as we knew it, is dead. So all your data is collected, whether it's through apps or, you know, wearables, like the Oura rings that you wear, especially, you know, the tech bros and the Whoop device, all of that, from websites, you know, then it's weaponized through, you know, companies, and then platforms, and maybe governments, and whether it's for profit, control, or manipulation. And it's a lot of difficult words, but here's an example that my co-founder Migle uses all the time. For example, you enter your, you know, you have a headache and you're a bit scared, and you use ChatGPT and you know, type it in being like, I have a headache, am I having a stroke, am I gonna die? But then that data goes to insurance companies that can raise your, you know, insurance costs based on that. So, you know, it is manipulated and used against you, not for your, you know, benefit. And surveillance is everywhere. And, you know, badly enough, it's quite invisible. So it makes you not notice it as much, and it almost makes it worse. But it's always there, like with all the algorithmic tracking and cameras and, you know, and biometrics. And honestly, every day we're getting closer to a Black Mirror episode. And it's not really paranoia, because if the fridge might actually be listening to you, and let's just hope that the fridges that are listening are only the ones that have AI devices installed in them. Let's not touch the old-fashioned fridges. And, you know, for example, we all use Telegram. Like when you meet someone here and you feel like you can explore some synergies, and you're like, what are you going to do? So you scan the little QR code and you're like, okay, like let's go on Telegram. And actually, originally Telegram gained popularity because it was this privacy innovation of, you know, having this app that doesn't dox your phone number, and you can just use your username, and that's like the privacy thing. And most people, maybe not in this room, because this room is very, you know, aligned, mission aligned, but most people would think that Telegram is private, or they just wouldn't care. And, you know, I decided to ask the dude that knows a little bit, I think, about privacy, if Telegram is actually private.
Okay.
Speaking about apps, is Telegram private?
No.
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 Good to know, thank you.
I mean, it might even be one of the few apps that has the honor of being backdoored by both the Russian and Western governments.
So that was rare footage of Vitalik being funny. But speaking of Russia, so I'm here fully doxing myself. I am Russian. And here's my little Russian passport. I look like a little KGB spy over there. I try to edit out, you know, the sensitive info, but I'm sure if somebody really needs to find it, they will find it anyways. And my problem is when I go to Russia to visit my family, I fear a little bit because I'm a very open privacy activist, and I hear that government is not very happy about that. So usually I don't want to use WhatsApp for my communication. So I ask my friends to download Signal because, you know, for them it's just an app, but for me it could be my safety easily. So, you know, I don't want to exaggerate how many friends I have. I don't have that many, but out of like, let's say 20 friends, only 1 or 2 actually got Signal, which was a bit problematic because if you're alone on a privacy app, it's an echo chamber. Like there's no one to talk to except for my work colleagues, and sometimes I just want to switch off and not talk about it. So it's tough, and honestly, it made me feel quite like desperate and just frustrated because nobody cares about privacy. Nobody cares about, you know, like this kind of, oh, it's an app with a similar interface, I might as well use it. But people don't really do that, and it really made me feel like we're living through, you know, a full-on like privacy apocalypse because nobody cares anymore. But people that do care, they're so little, and it's you know, makes me feel like the bottom line is we're all fucked. So yeah, so this is living through a privacy apocalypse, and I don't know. You've seen enough apocalypse movies, and you know that there's zombies uprising, usually right after the apocalypse. And this is actually, you know, my talk about in-depth exploration about impact of zombie movies on Hollywood culture, because where else is better to do that? Who here bought that? I'm going to talk about privacy, sorry. As much as you may have wanted to hear about zombies, it was just a, you know, clever clickbait to get people's attention, to talk about something that is much deeper and maybe a bit less fun, but something that we could make fun. So privacy culture, and what do you think when you think about, you know, about privacy activists? So who's, you know, during this apocalypse, who's protecting our privacy? Who's standing in the front lines? So usually people would imagine this kind of geek, and honestly, half of the people in this room, even more, look exactly like that. But you know, they're scared. They're not you guys are fine. But you know, this privacy geek idea and this privacy geek image, it just, you know, shows so many symptoms of fear and isolation and paranoia, and you know, also similar symptoms to having rabies, and we all know how that ends. But as much as like building a cabin in the woods and living life, you know, off the grid would be honestly amazing, we can't continue like that, and it's not a solution. So operating from fear or shame, and actually shame because of, you know, you have nothing to hide, but if you care for privacy, you have something to hide. So there's this shameful kind of narrative around it as well. And this culture is only going to isolate us privacy geeks, and you know, isolate and make you feel more alone and make people care less about privacy. So, well, you little cypherpunks, we're all fucked if we continue in this narrative. So something needs to change. And the new cypherpunk generation is doing something completely different. So, for example, here you can see Win Privacy Integration on top of Web3 Privacy Now Hackathon, where we made a little photo booth and, you know, literally just like engineered those little masks ourselves. It was a lot of do-it-yourself. It was great. And people could take, you know, profile pictures here. Something anonymous, but something that is still fun and cute, because, I mean, also it would be really nice not to dox yourself in every picture, and sometimes wearing glasses gets a little bit too lame. And maybe if you can see that for the Italians out here, there's a little icos on the grass over there, the emotional support nicotine. But I've been told that my superpower is being shameless, which is also an alternative to being cringe. I honestly, I don't care who I talk to. I don't care, you know, how I come off. I will just be unapologetically myself because, I mean, yes, I will wear leopard heels to a very techie conference because I'm in Cannes and I don't care about breaking my feet. I will die for fashion. And yeah, like being unapologetically yourself and unapologetically who you are. So this is something that I use like Web3 Privacy Now and Women in Privacy as a lighthouse to gather those people, to gather this new generation of cypherpunks that actually just don't give a fuck. and in the best way possible, where people that are unapologetically themselves and embody this new version of privacy without the shame, without the guilt, and with full purpose to make the world better and to be new cypherpunk rock stars. And that's something that we should support and promote in this culture rather than the good old geeky narrative. We also still need the geeks, we still need that, but also we need more diversity in this. We need more fun, we need more playfulness. So this might be a really weird slide to have in a privacy talk, but bear with me. So if we take privacy out of the echo chamber of having the geek narrative and make it actually fun and make it communal and have a bit more diversity, we will normalize talking and showing up in privacy. And hopefully, in my dreams, it will be something similar to these kind of boots. So who here knows what are those boots? Lift up your arm if you know what it is. I see one. Just one person. Well, I mean, I didn't expect anything less from a tech conference, but yeah. So those are really famous Margiela boots that are ugly as fuck. But because they have this, coolness around them, being like, they're ugly and I don't care. I mean, at least that's how I associate them. People that are not in this room, apart from maybe one or two, look at them as a coolness symbol. And now, especially with so many fakes populating the internet, the price is not a gate, they're not gate kept anyways now. So this is something that I imagine for privacy. I want privacy to become cool. I want privacy to become something that is aesthetic. And people want to follow it, even if they don't fully understand the meaning behind it or how to get there. People would be interested because they would like this kind of lifestyle, because they would be attracted by the shamelessness and this rock star vibe of it, of genuinely not caring what other people think or trying to fit into the box. So Web3 Privacy Now and Women in Privacy are technology-centric collective. So we have a lot of devs, we have a lot of techie conversations, but our chats and our events and our culture are open for anyone. So everyone's invited and everyone should always feel welcome. And maybe if you make it to our side event today, which is an anti-side event, it's called Occupy ECC, which we made with zero budget. Genuinely, it's occupying a space in a park and just bringing your friends, bringing your own booths or bringing candy, and everybody can bring a little bit of themselves. Like we're gonna have a tarot deck station, do-it-yourself makeup. And yeah, you can see that these collectives, they really don't care about gatekeeping or wait lists or KPIs, because privacy shouldn't be about that. Like it shouldn't be just the protocols. It should also be collective. It should be, in stories and not just code. Because if we keep it just to code, it will become boring and stale, and it will never get out of this echo chamber. And, privacy is also adaptive and remixed. So, you hear a story of like, oh yeah, Signal is good, but this VPN is good. And then you dive a little bit more into it and you're like, oh, but also this tool is cool. And it goes from the word of mouth, because in the end, yes, we're in the age of technology, but we're all still human in the end. So we do need to also emphasize this human part of privacy, because privacy is also care. It's care, like I mentioned before, the Signal thing for me when I'm in Moscow. For my friends, it's just an app, but for me, it's care. So if all of you move into more private and secure communication, it might not be for you. It might be for your friend who's also participating in those circles, who might be an activist or queer or trans and traveling to a country that's not super friendly, if you know what I mean. So journalists and so many people that do need that extra step of protection, you're not doing it for you anymore. Privacy is collective and it's care and it's showing up and it's this ritual that moves through communities and moves through stories and not just protocols. And privacy is shameless. It should be shameless because there's nothing to hide, but also, if we want to, for whatever reason, who the fuck can tell us no? And, the KPI of this talk is to urge you to build privacy with more culture altogether and with care and absolute fucking shamelessness. Applause. so now we have a little bit of time for questions. Bring it on. I will take my glasses for it. Do we have any questions? It's okay if you don't. Comments, criticisms, stories? Amazing. Okay, if you do want to talk, you can...
We have one.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Great talk. Disclaimer, I've been to some of Web3 privacy events, also the recent hackathon in Berlin. It was actually one of my favorites from most of the events I visited, so thank you. And my question is like, what each of us can do to actually spread it more? I mean, we kind of everyone cares about privacy right here and there, but we're not vocal about it that much, right? We write code and we're like, we care about privacy, but what is your Telegram? Can we connect on Signal? No, let's do Telegram. Like simple things, and then like to other,
See, I mean, I can just explain a bit of things that women in Web3 privacy do. So one of our contributors is actually working on a privacy toolkit. And it's, there's so many privacy toolkits, and there's, privacy for, very, very progressive tech code, progressive people. There's privacy for grandma. And something that is simple, that is easy to use, and something that is relatable. Because when you just read something that is, oh, you should install Signal. No, just like Noah did before me, you have to attach a story to it. You have to make it real. You have to make it human and, probable that can happen to you or someone you love or care for. And, distributing it in a cool and fun way. So not just having it as like, a stack of magazines or like leaflets around, but adding cool cultural stuff to it, adding a bit of a human factor, maybe some provocative images, maybe some stories of queer protesters in Amsterdam, and interviewing different people, because that's also how you get the ecosystem diversity out there. So this is just an example. And there's so many other ways as well, but this is something our contributor Araya is working on. This is the first thing that popped into my head. I hope that answers your question, but I can brainstorm some more ideas later.
Do you have any question? Yes? And come.
Just where, again, is this Occupy set up? Where is that? You mentioned that there's a meeting place where folks are talking.
Yeah, it's in the park, and it's around, I think, 15-minute walk away from here. But if you go on Luma and you look up ECC Occupy, you'll find it straight away. Or at...
I'll whisper to you later. We're not going to share it on Luma because too many people sign up, but I will whisper to you which part.
Oh, we're going through a whisper network. I love it.
Hi, nice talks. I think it's a pity we don't have enough OSINT demonstration for people to be more aware about the basic digital hygiene regarding privacy in Web3 world. So I guess that would be a way to make people more aware about the danger about this.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But also, sadly, most of us wait until like a black swan event or something to happen for it to make it into mainstream communications. And that's where I actually adore Gen Z so much. I spend a lot of fucking time on TikTok. Like, I'm chronically online. And the only time that I actually saw a difference in people starting to care about privacy and paying a bit more attention and mainly creating content for other people to scroll through and learn. So I don't know if you've heard of Bimbo Crypto. I think it's Bimbo Economics, and it's this girl who dresses, really fashionable, and she just walks around holding her camera as a selfie, explaining. So today, let's talk about inflation in Bimbo terms. And she finally made a video about privacy and data collection and how centralized, all the data storage is and how terrifying that is. And I felt like that was all started by America's elections and shit that's been going on with immigration and, the women's rights, trans rights, queer active protest and everything, because people are starting to actually feel it on themselves, because we have the privilege, well, at least most of us, we are privileged enough to live in the first world where we don't really feel those problems. We know that these issues exist, but we don't really feel it on our skin. And people who are in less privileged communities that, infringe on their rights and where they have less voices or less opportunity to talk it, to voice it out, they're going to be the ones that will be fucked up first. So they will get fucked over, and unless we wake up and start doing something about it, and start creating media content, start talking about creating toolkits, start making privacy cool, being like, whether it's merch or, little signs talking about activist toolkits, and seeping it outside of the Web3 bubble. And, it's very important not to stay in this little soup that we're all boiling in. We're going to be fucked as well, and the whole world is going to go to shit. So welcome to my very happy and very optimistic talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.